Have you been playing Elden Ring recently? How would you describe your time spent in the lands between? What words would you use? Fine? Good? Alright? How about your weapon? What words would you use for that? Also fine? Good? Alright? Okay? Well, I have something to tell you. Just come closer real quick. Get that adequate shit out of here. Me and my boys only fuck with greatness. Straight sword? Lame. Axe? Doesn't have a word in front of it. Great axe? I guess that just kind of screws up this whole conversation. Welcome everyone, my name is Fist Truck, and today we're going to be talking about great swords in Elden Ring. Obviously everyone already knows this, but the first step on the road to greatness is hitting that subscribe button. Also, I'm aware this video is kind of longer than what I normally do, so just to quickly get this out of the way, there are two builds in this video. What I feel is a more beginner-friendly build, which is going to be happening right after this intro, and a more advanced player-friendly build, and also just a different type of build, which will be about halfway through the video, if not a little later than that. Timestamps on the bottom. Check it out. Also, just to get this stuff out of the way real quick, if you haven't done so already, check my second channel, Fist Truck TV. An entire playthrough of Elden Ring is up there, along with an entire playthrough of a game called Gun. And lastly, and most unfortunately, I am now on Twitter. If you want to see dumb tweets about stuff like this, follow me over there. It'd also probably be the best way to get in touch with me if anybody wanted to do that for some reason. Anywho, without further ado, let's get into the builds. Step 1. Make a character. Make sure to start off with the hero class, so level ups don't go to waste. Then for your starting gift, you're gonna pick Eldens. I already forgot what they were and I refuse to look at the video in order to find out. Just pick the thing where when you pop it, it gives you like 3,000 Eldens. Lastly, make sure to name your character something appropriate. I made sure to name my character Hank Beef LXIX. If you're confused by what that means Hank Beef the 69th. I'm a gamer, and I'm 31 years old. Step 2, kill yourself, or unalive yourself. I feel like I might have just got demonetized based on things that I just said, but I'm not gonna censor myself. Anyway, it's just faster to jump off the cliff over here when the many-armed man shows up. However, if you feel like taking him on, you do you. Step 3, we're gonna be getting our weapon, and I'm gonna keep it simple because overall I think that's the goal with this build. Now, unfortunately, this weapon will be located in the far, far away land of 1 minute walking distance from the starting area. That's right, we'll be getting the Lordsorn Greatsword because it's the closest one to get, it's the fastest one to get, and because of one neat little property on the weapon, it's arguably one of the best ones for what we're trying to accomplish today. Nonetheless, you can find it by this little outpost of dudes. There's a carriage, it has a chest in front of it. It's like literally right next to the bonfire. Really hard to miss. Fun fact about Hank Beef the 69th. Not only is he beefy, but it turns out he's also caked up as a motherfucker because this soldier of Godric was interested in my bussy while I was trying to pick up my sword. Also, in order to equip this weapon, you're gonna have to pop 1 whole point into Dex, assuming that you started with the hero. Step 4, time to kill Margaret. Margaret is a real cuck peepee this early in the game. So if you're uncomfortable with that, I highly recommend that you explore Florida. And I also highly recommend that you check out how to kill or beat Margaret in Elden Ring video that I uploaded almost a year ago. It's crazy to think how much time flies by. Nonetheless, most of the strats in that video I still do today. In layman's terms, it doesn't actually tell you how to fight him, it just tells you the things you should do before fighting him. Anyway, take your time. There's absolutely no rush because we will be needing 30 strength. Why is that? Step 5, we're getting our shield, the Manor Tower Shield. Why this shield? Well, because you can get it early, it has high stability, at least for being this early in the game, and that's really the only thing I care about. Also, more importantly, high stability and 100% physical block. Those are the two big things that I care about. Nonetheless, having high stability is going to allow us to do a lot of guard counters, which, spoiler alert, is the thing that we're going to be doing a lot of. It also requires 30 strength to wield, and if you were like me and kind of just beelined it to this thing and didn't upgrade your endurance at all, then you might have to take off your helmet and your hands. Not your actual hands, but your hand armor, arm armor, whatever it may be. And where can you find this shield? Why, thank you for asking, because I'm about to tell you, candy ass. You're gonna want to work your way through most of Stormvale Castle, and kind of close to the end, really close to the bonfire that's right outside of Godric's room. There's this one spot where there are a bunch of Jarmen to your left, and then one of the Beetleborgs to your right. Instead of going down to the Beetleborg, you're gonna want to kind of hug the wall. Go along that path, and then just see what I do in this video. It requires some really dumb parkouring, because apparently Unfortunately, in Elden Ring, your character can dictate what direction they jump after they've already started jumping. Anywho, after you do that, just proceed forward a little bit more. There's going to be a room full of homeless men that are going to try and shank you and throw shit at you. The shield will be found in that room. Lastly, I normally would make this its own step, but just go to the Storm Shack place, buy the no skill Ash Award, and put that on the shield. Step 6. If you couldn't tell that this step was coming, shame on you. Shame on you. We're getting the Curved Sword Talisman, which can also be found within Stormvale Castle. If I wanted to do things in order, I guess I should have had this one be step 5 because you usually get it before the shield. I hope you finished watching this video before you started doing the build. That's on you. Nonetheless, it's in this one room. The door gets closed behind you. Things go dark. It's one of these banished knight dudes tries to kill you. There's a chest there, blah, 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 blah. That's how you get it. As is the spirit of me going into this room when I'm recording a video, they keep trying to tempt me because he dropped the Banished Knight Greatsword, and that sword scales higher with strength than the one we're currently using. But you're not today, Satan. Not today. I am not basing my build on chance, god damn it. Step 7, this is gonna be the secret sauce to our build, the MS2RG. We're getting the Claw Talisman. Now you might be kind of confused and be like, oh, do we really want to do jumping attacks like that? Yes, and I will explain in the part where I talk about how to play the build. It'll make sense there, but just bear with me. Also, Stormvale Castle also should have put this step before the shield. First, you're gonna get to this spot, then do my patented how does this not kill me jump onto this spot over here. Yes, there's another way to get here, but this way's faster and also doesn't hurt. Climb up, climb this ladder. Claw Talisman is there. There's a bunch of birds. It's been in many of my videos at this point. If this is your first one, welcome to the channel. Hit the subscribe button. Again, hey. Step 8, we're gonna want to get the Iron Whetstone, also located within Stormvale Castle. This is all pretty convenient, right? I like to think that it is, and it makes things easy for everyone, you know, especially if you want to try this shit out. You know, it's like a gateway drug. Anyway, we're getting this because we're going to be giving our Greatsword the heavy infusion. Since we've already pumped a shit ton of points into strength in order to equip our shield, it only makes sense. Also, with this, you'll probably want to buy the stamp upward cut, whatever it may be. It's essentially the same Ash War we're using right now, but unfortunately, because game is game and game be dumb sometimes, we need to have the Ash War that we already have in order to give it an infusion.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Now that's how to assemble the foundation of our build. So as you play through the game, I'm going to be giving the same advice that I almost always give. Level up in a way that's most comfortable for you, so that might mean putting more points into health and endurance, or vice versa. I personally would put more points into endurance immediately, so I could actually equip some fucking armor, because right now, I look like the homeless warrior of San Francisco or some shit like that. Like, this is pretty bad. Anyway, I can also understand if you rather just have a shit ton of health. Now, to address what might possibly be the biggest question. Hey, Fist Truck, what do I do if I plan to play this game for more than 2 hours? Well, thank you for asking, because you know what? Today, all of us here at Fist Truck LLC is going to show you how you can go from you to the person she tells you not to worry about. It's pretty much you, but with cooler clothes and the same weapons. And he got a bigger dick. So I'm just gonna kind of jumble all this shit together. We're gonna be keeping everything we already have. Obviously, we're gonna be switching the armor, because being borderline naked probably doesn't work when you're trying to look like a badass motherfucker who's the 69th of their lineage. Nonetheless, we'll be getting the Dagger Talisman because, as you'll find out if you haven't already put it together, this is just gonna be a more grown-up version of my sword and shield build. Hits harder, and we can use a little bit more of our kit. Getting enemies to stagger and go into crit state is so fucking easy, as hopefully I can show off in some of the bosses that I killed, that having these buffs does make a big difference. Speaking of buffing stuff, guess who's gonna be dying today? Now, if you guessed the bourgeoisie, unfortunately, you would be incorrect. That's right, it's Alexander. Again, his fucking thing makes our Ashes of War do more damage. Like, why would I not pick him? Why would I not do this again? It just doesn't make sense to not do it. I'm sorry. And speaking about the Ash of War we'll be using, it's really up to you. I kind of don't give a shit which one I use. I just use the Lion's Claw Ash of War because it does a shit ton of damage, and also it's a call back to Artorias, which is cool. So that's the one I wound up using. It's located in Fort Gale, which is located over in New Jersey, unfortunately. There's a pit with like 1 or 2 lions in it. I forget how many. I think it's just 1. I wish I could tell you, but I already killed them, so it's empty. But when you kill them, you get the Lion's Claw Ash of War. It's pretty cool. Lastly, we'll be equipping the ELDEN equivalent of a Yankee no brim. That's right. We're getting the Knight's Cavalry armor, which can be located within the consecrated snowfield. I hate this area. Anyway, you saw this one bonfire that's in the middle of it. Make sure that it's nighttime when you do so. Really, really close by is a carriage being pulled by giants and got its little entourage. They don't matter. What matters is that there are 2 Knight's Cavalry that are escorting this carriage. Now, fortunately for us, they both have a really big issue with object permanence, because if they don't see it, it doesn't exist. If you approach from the side of the carriage, you can attack one of them and the other one will be none the wiser. Which is great, because I've done this fight once where it was a gank, and that sucked absolute dick penis. I fucking hated it. It was terrible. Nonetheless, once you kill both of them, you get their armor, and to be honest, I thought it looked dumb when I first got it many moons ago, but in this case, I just put it on because it was an armor that allowed my weight to be below the 70% threshold at 40 endurance. Lo and behold, I think this shit looks pretty cool, and does look like it belongs to someone who's the 69th of their lineage. And now to talk about stats. I'm not really gonna get into the specific numbers all that much. All I'll say is that I have 40 endurance that allows me to equip all this stuff without having to use any sort of equip load boosting talismans. Aside from that, if you're on a fresh playthrough, I'd highly recommend you just pump a lot of points into health, throw some into mine so you could be able to do the Ash of War more than, 3 times. And if you want to get the most out of scaling, pumping strength is going to be a really good call. However, even at 30 strength, you're already doing more damage with the sword, so it's kind of up to you. Now to talk about how you're going to play this build in the end game, and if you choose to take it into New Game Plus cycles. Pretty much, if you have opportunities to attack, you're going to be going between jumping attacks, Ash of War, and guard counters. If you just keep the pressure using those kinds of attacks, you will absolutely wreck all sorts of shit. Considering that all the attacks I just spoke of are all boosted from all the equipment we'll be using, and then on top of that, if you're doing these attacks, you'll be putting enemies in crit states and bosses in crit states, which is also boosted because of the sword and the talisman. You do some pretty big dick damage, if I do say so myself. And more importantly, you do it while looking like a badass motherfucker. And more importantly, you are doing it and hopefully having fun, because I was speaking to a friend while I was putting this build together, and I was like, yo, I think I made another banger. At least I like it. To be fair, it is just kind of like a more grown-up version of the Sword of Shield build, as I previously stated. However, and the reason why I call it the secret sauce and the MS2RG, the Claw Talisman, is because what happens a lot of the time is that you can put an enemy in the stagger state, do the crit on them. Usually when you do the crit on them, they back up, at which point you can just run in with a jumping attack, and it all just kind of works really fucking well. Hopefully I have some footage to show you what I mean. I would highly suggest you, just try it out, see how it works. I hope you enjoy it, because I had a lot of fun with it. Also, if you just wanted to play it safe, I'd probably just switch out the Claw Talisman for the Great Shield Talisman, so your shield has a bit more stability going on there. At which point it would just be a spitting image of the Sword and Shield build. Just big boy, as I previously stated multiple times, but I have no shame. Alright, now with the safe build out of the way, it's time to turn the lights off and turn the black light on and regret the things that may be on our hands and faces. Anyway, we're gonna be doing the big boy build. Nothing but a person and their greatsword. Make sure to give your character an appropriate name for this build. I would suggest a name such as Thud Butt Fuck. Step 1, we'll be getting the Warcry Ash of War off of this one guy that we've seen now 3 times in this video. I sure wish he had a customer loyalty rewards program instead of what we wind up having to do with him much later within this build. Step 2, we'll be getting the Roar Medallion, which can be found within the Limgrave tunnels. At the end is a troll. The troll slapped the shit out of me. There's a first for everything. I'll say it in almost every single one of my videos. Everybody poops. Step 3, we'll be getting the Axe Talisman, which can be found within the Mistwood Ruins. There's this bear built like Berenstein over here. Kick the shit out of him. Or not. Whatever you do, just go down the stairs. There's a treasure chest. Open it up. Axe Talisman is inside. Step 4, we'll be getting the Claw Talisman. That's right. I am a broken record. Step 5, we'll get into the Highland Axe, also located within Stormvale Castle, the same place where you can find the Claw Talisman. That's right, I am a broken record. Nonetheless, there's a room with a many-armed man within it. You can either fight it or you cannot. There's a really big painting in the room, hard to miss, of a man from the lands between my cheeks. At the base of a painting, his body, you pick it up, that has the Highland Axe. That's going to be going in our offhand. Step 6, we'll be getting the Carrion Filigreed crest. This can be purchased off the big man within Liurnia. I also feel like a broken record at this point. However, I haven't spoken about this talisman within this video yet, so I will at least show footage of this instead of me jumping off of a bridge or something. Step 7, my boy Dean possibly wants a feature in one of my videos, so I figured I'd give him that honor of being a fucking bird. It goes to the 4 belfries. One of them takes you back to the beginning of the game. Assuming that you've already slain the many-armed man within that place, or not. After all, I did definitely say unalive yourself in the beginning of the video for the same exact boss. Anyway, so you're gonna want to move past that. Go pretty much to the beginning. There's a part overlooking where you exactly started the game. There's a treasure chest, and Stormhawk Dean is inside of it. Or Dean Huh. The H almost seems incidental. I forget what step number we're on. I think it's step 8. We'll be getting the Beast Champion armor. Now, to be honest, it really doesn't matter what armor you wear for this build. However, I think this shit just looks so fucking good. Not my favorite armor, but it still looks so fucking good. Now, just the catch is that you have to unalter the chest piece, which when you get it, it comes pre-altered. How do you get it? You're gonna have to go to Crumbling Fair Missoula, starting from beside the Great Bridge bonfire. Instead of going the way that takes you to Malekith, you're gonna want to pop a 180 once you're actually on top of the bridge. Drop down in this one spot over here. He invades you. Now, make sure you exhausted all his dialogue within the Volcano Manor before doing this. Otherwise, you're gonna look really dumb when he doesn't show up. Also, when he does show up, make sure to not go in the room where he spawns from, because it's a really fucked up gank, and trust me, you don't want that. Nonetheless, once you finish with this prostate exam, his armor is yours. I think I personally prefer to rock it without the helmet. Just looks more badass in my opinion. Lastly, and the weapon for our build, and the most annoying thing to get for this build, and I'm sorry, especially considering that within the previous build, I said something along the lines of, I'm not basing my build on kick. Unfortunately, I'm basing my build on a fucking drop right now, because it happens to be the Greatsword that I believe has the highest strength scaling, though I'm sure someone could prove me wrong. I did not look on the wiki for this, I just did all this within the game. Nonetheless, we're gonna be getting the Iron Greatsword. You have about 2 places where this can drop. There's a part within Landell, the capital city, where you get jumped by 2 of these misbegotten assholes. Unfortunately, if it was enough that 2 of them try and kill you, there's also one of those perfumer guys that I'm sure is a cheese ball, and some other enemies there. It's incredibly fucking annoying, but it is faster to get to, so the choice is yours. The other choice being the Halig tree. Before you fight Loretta, there's one of those misbegotten warrior dudes there. Unfortunately, you can also get ganked in the spot, however, it's significantly less annoying than the previous gank. I personally prefer this one because the bonfire is right there, so even if you get the shit kicked out of you, it's a quick run back. But the capital city is not that it takes forever to get back there, but nothing is as close. Just kill these guys enough. I didn't have the patience for it for this build guide. One of them dropped something, and it was an old fang because I can go fuck myself. Nonetheless, one of them will eventually drop the Iron Greatsword, and from what I've seen, though once again, I could be wrong, this may very well be the Greatsword with the highest strength scaling on it, which is going to be incredibly important because we're about to talk about numbers, stats, and stonks and all sorts of bullshit right about now. Welcome to Fist Truck Studios, where I'm sure you've been confused by this footage of the New York Stock Exchange that I've constantly been using. Well, that's because we're doing fat fucking stonks this episode. Now, for those who are new, or maybe just don't know, my personal preference for when I play these games is trying to keep it as simple as possible. I really don't like to use consumables all that much, so like firebombs and that kind of stuff. And I typically don't use summons, and sometimes I don't even use my Ashes of War all that often, though that has been changing recently. Nonetheless, with this build, I still want to keep it focused, but just have the right amount of stuff without overcrowding it and making it feel bloated. I hope it doesn't feel bloated, but to me, it feels pretty awesome when you have all this shit going on at the same time. What can all this shit be that I may be speaking of? Well, let's get to that. So, starting with the Claw Talisman, we're going to be doing a lot of jumping attacks because our biggest source of damage is pretty hard to pull off, so this is really just there to supplement that. Carrion Filigreed Crest. We're going to be doing a lot of war cries, like a lot of them. Pretty much, you're going to want to stay buffed at all times, at least when you're fighting a boss. The Axe Talisman. This is to buff up fully charged R2s. Why would we be doing those? The Roar Medallion, which buffs roar-based attacks and Ashes of Wars and all that kind of stuff, which War Cry is one of those. When you do War Cry, it changes your charged R2, which is also supported by the Roar Medallion, and on top of that, having the Highland Axe in the offhand slot further buffs these attacks. At the same time, you summon the bird, and our boy Dean is like, yeah! And at the same time, you're like, ah! And it just all stacks together, and you have a bunch of buffs going on at the same time, and you do some fat fucking damage. It's so cool when you get a chance to pull it off. That's the hard part, is being able to pull it off because it takes so long to charge your R2, then half the time he runs forward, and you might miss, and it's really fucking annoying. But just so you can see a difference between the two, with all these buffs active, my jumping attack does like 1,000 something damage, and then my charge R2 on the same boss does like 2,080 or 2,012 damage, and the charge R2 is a combo. It hits for almost twice as much of one of our jumping attacks, and our jumping attack is already buffed. Also, if you haven't figured it out, make sure to give your great sword the heavy infusion and pump the ever living fuck out of strength. You're gonna be looking like the Liver King, eating nothing but raw meats and having $12,000 worth of steroids coursing through your ass cheeks at all times. Anywho, I'm calm now. Bob as my witness. When I smacked this one Godskin Apostle with that charged R2, I nutted and foamed at the same time. And that brings us to our conclusion. Nothing. I have nothing to say. This video took a while to put together. So yeah, if you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. Comment cupcake in the comments section to prove that you made it to the end, or skip straight to the end, which would be weird. Anyway, once again, I've been Fist Truck. Thank you so much for watching. Check out my Twitter, check out my second channel, links in the description. And until next time, don't forget to always wipe before you shit.